I grew up since I was young up until now, like my whole life basically within Sunset Park. And up until when I was like 13, I actually grew up like right in the middle kind of 8th Avenue. I was on 8th Avenue and 57th Street, like right on the corner. Like literally my living room was the backyard of like, it's still there. I forgot the name of the market. It's on 57th Street. 8th Avenue has been there ever since I was like young. Like they saw me grow up literally. My family's from Toisan, which is in Guangdong province. My world there was mostly in Cantonese. And I think that was like, even the businesses then were like just very simple gift shops, or very simple like locally owned businesses. Now there's a lot of like clothing stores, a lot of like yeah, a lot of more different like mini malls and stuff like that. And I remember growing up, that was like not a thing. It was like the spots for like the gift shops, like, you know, the noodle spot and like the Vietnamese places. So there was this dope ass gift shop right on my block, which is now a 99-cent store. It was called M&N or M&M gift shop. And it wasn't like the most, you know, highly decorated gift shop, but it was like the gift shop closest to me, and my friends and I would go there all the time. Like we knew when their newest stickers were coming out, like when their newest plushies were coming out. So my mom, and she worked in the garment industry for like, you know, 10-hour days, and she's tired, she has to come home. And sometimes she doesn't feel like cooking, and she'll be like, "Oh, Joanne, you got some savings, right?" I was like, "Yes." She's like, "Can you buy you and your brother some dinner? It could be anything, I'll pay you back." I was like, and in my head I was like, "Oh, I know what I want." I would go to that Vietnamese spot and get takeout. It was like the best thing ever. As someone who cares about the future, it's been really hard wrapping my head around not so much how I feel about the development, because I think it's going to have a negative impact for a very large population, which is like the low income, undocumented folks, even just low income in general. I've been having a hard time like wrapping my head around how Chinese mainland folks might feel about this, and how I might be able to mobilize with other folks, just because, you know, I don't like how there's a lot of rich and like wealthy Asian, typically Chinese people, investors, developers are coming in and being like, this is good for our community, but you know, for who? That's always the question, is for who? But with the development happening, it was one of those thoughts I had when I was like, it's never gonna happen. It's 8th Avenue, like who's gonna wanna be here? Now that they're thinking of building this massive 3-tower thing, and it's just a parking lot in addition to everything else that's happening here, I just think people might be forced or literally pushed, because the housing really tense and tight, literally tight in 8th Avenue without the legal conversions. Maybe, and not that I want it to happen, when it happens they're gonna see like the immediate impact. Having lived in Sunset Park my whole life, I value deeply the need and importance for communities like mine, low-income immigrant communities of color. We are the largest walk-to-work community. Sunset Park currently and for a long time has been a predominantly Latinx, Chinese, and Arab monolingual working-class community who depend on one another. These types of communities and relationships are the lifeline of not only Sunset Park, but for New York City as a whole. This project will attract a homogeneous population, normally higher income tenants, investors, and tourists, something that's not beneficial nor a close reality for Sunset Park's current tenants. With the current scope of plan, I am worried about how it will impact the cultural, residential, and economic fabric and future of 8th Avenue. With the previous upzoning of the avenues, we have seen how tall condominiums and buildings negatively affected the existence of local businesses and affordable housing. In addition, many of my childhood friends have also been forced to move outside of Sunset Park because of rising rents, tenant harassment to leave, and illegally converted apartment units. This is a practice I fear will become more frequent in an already densely packed neighborhood. So about a decade ago, like I had moved away from 57th Street, 8th Avenue, and I currently now live on like 4th Avenue side. So, you know, I went from like Brooklyn Chinatown to the more Latinx area here. And So when I was younger, I was about 16, I think, I had joined Uprose through SYAP. So there was a lot of actually injustices happening in Sunset Park. And you know, like Sunset Park's a low-income community of color, and we live by the waterfront, and that we are very vulnerable to like storm surges or any extreme weather occurrences, which are happening more and more often because of climate change and all that stuff. And I also learned about, you know, the tensions between the different communities here. One of their biggest like campaigns right now is against displacement within Sunset Park because of development and because of mainly Industry City. Industry City is owned by Jamestown Property partially, and they're the people who are responsible for what we know as today as Chelsea Market. So they're trying to do this very similar things here in Sunset Park. They own a lot of warehouses in the waterfront. And you know, they've had over the years more and more coverage because of the events they're having, like silent parties and like cocktails and like $200 wine tastings, not for the community. So they're trying to rezone for their private property, which means that they're changing the way that they can use their land, their buildings. So within Sunset Park, there's actually a lot of different organizations and just groups of folks that come together and organize on different issues, whether it's displacement or environmental injustice or police brutality. I'm part of the Cop Watch team. Our mission is to not only focus on, you know, like community surveillance in terms of like keeping cops in check or making sure people know their rights when it comes to the police,